Hello, welcome to Cerulean Arts Gallery. Tonight we're speaking with Susan Sullivan in conjunction with her Cerulean Collective Exhibition, which is on view now through June 2nd. Hello, Susan.
Oh, hi, Mike.
How are you? Thanks for being here.
I'm good. I'm well. It looked like the reception was a success last week from what I could see. I think I scared a few people in the gallery, the talking head, but that's okay. I did have some good conversations with some people when they stopped being scared.
That's good.
So,
So tell us a bit about yourself and the show.
oh yeah. Well, my name's Susan Sullivan. I live in Portland, Oregon. I used to live in Philadelphia, which is how I have a connection to the Cerulean Arts. Um, I have an MFA from the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Art and a, a BA from Portland State University. And let's see, I've been painting for over 30 years, I guess. And it's, yeah, so that's a little bit about me. Well, okay, what we're looking at right now, we're looking at one of my paintings called Marabou Alley. And many of my paintings have to do with things that are kind of lost or discarded. And that those shoes had a little story of a friend of mine found one in the alley and its little heel was like broken like a little cigarette or something like that. And then a week later, the mate was out there. And these are not street shoes. These are boudoir shoes. These are shoes that look at those soles. Those shoes don't belong on the street. They're probably on a plush carpet or something like that for as long as they are worn. So I tried to kind of capture um the funniness of these shoes, but then also give it like a little bit of a life, a journey of their own.
So that seems to be your focus these days, stuff on the street.
Things, yeah, things that I'm finding like a little slice of life. It all started with one painting from the last show, and it just I I don't feel like I'm finding these things. I think these things are finding me. So I just like some, I take lots of photos of things like this VCR box. Like, who wants this thing? Nobody wants that. But it made a great painting. That was so I guess it was there for me to paint because who has those VCR tapes anymore? I guess some people. Um, One thing that I noticed, oh, this is a yeah, this is a funny painting, karaoke date. Um, that was kind of COVID. Those are like little, well, you could call them shower caps or you could call them something else, but they go on a microphone. So um the next person when you're doing karaoke doesn't have their germs on it. And I realized that I was going to karaoke way too much because I would find several in a pocket in my purse. Like they were just coming out like it was a magic trick. I kept finding them, so I thought I had to paint them. Um, but anyway, back to the work. One thing I noticed from seeing the paintings uh, on the wall in the gallery that I didn't realize when they were here in my home studio is that the light in the paintings for these discarded things are absolutely different than the light in the pool paintings. Because formerly I did a lot of pool imagery. I painted a lot of things um, with sort of this brilliant, full California sun. But in Oregon, it's gray most of the time. Like it's gray right now. It's like it's kind of this weird subdued light and it's kind of has this heaviness to it. And it's fine if it rains, but if it's not raining, it's gray. And so that is why there's this kind of darker light in a lot of these paintings, because that's really what it is visually here.
So do you think
This,
it goes
mhm.
along with the subject matter?
Yeah, yeah. Because we have, it does, because it's kind of like these discarded things. This painting in particular is probably my favorite out of all the work that I did for this show. Is this Well Loved is the name of this painting. And it's just, I just want to know the story behind this discarded bunny rabbit. Like this is a well loved like what child lost this rabbit? Like it's missing its eye. It's like the Velveteen Rabbit, It's got a little bow tie still. Um, and then on this beautiful antique chair that people just let go to heck, I guess is what I'll say. They just it's all ripped up, but before it was brocade and beautiful, like this kind of gingerbread wood, and I'm just like, who are these people that let these things happen to this beautiful chair? And what child lost that rabbit? What's the story behind that? I
But then
talked
you
to
couldn't,
a woman in the gallery during the reception, and she was just like, there's a lot going on there. And she was just heartfelt over this rabbit. She goes, my kids had a bunny like that. And if they lost their favorite toy, it would just tear them apart. So both of us were like, where's this child that needs their bunny back? So anyway, that makes me think a lot about this one, is like, this is more misplaced than disregarded, like discarded, I feel like.
so instead of running away from it, you want to paint it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
Why do I paint these things?
Yeah. What's the attraction?
Um,
I mean, it's, a horrifying in a way, like
yeah.
distorted humanity, but at the same time,
Well, I mean, I feel like people walk by these things and ignore it. Either you're going to take this thing off the street and maybe use it, but you probably can't, because it was people here take their furniture out without looking at the weather report. And I swear they always put it out right before like 3 days of rain.
Mhm.
So, like this antique chair right there, this chair was there for a really long time. I didn't paint it in there, but there's moss growing on this chair. Like these things get soaked and stained from being in the elements, and things start growing on it. And like there was a couch 2 blocks away from my apartment that had been out there for over a year. But sometimes these things, like, it's like this painting in particular, which I'm gonna try to I can't remember the name of it. I'm just gonna see if I can. I don't have my mouse. Um, there it is. Opposites attract. Um, some of these things I feel like are quite humorous. This like this kind of nice antique chair, and then this funny exercise bike. And it's not like these fancy ones that people have now, that like they
Does
have
it
to.
look like a Peloton or whatever?
Yeah, this is not a Peloton. This is the one in your aunt's basement, that's been collecting dust, or the one in my parents' bedroom that I grew up with that really became like an extra hanger, I mean, what would have been better if I would have put like a suit jacket on the handlebars, because that's how it always was in my parents' room. But it's just kind of like, okay, you don't want this? I mean, why don't you bring it to the Goodwill? Maybe somebody would want this, but no one's going to pick up that bicycle off the street. And the garbage people aren't going to pick these. They won't pick this stuff up. So it's just left out there. So I just figured, like, this is a funny little duo having a funny little conversation. And like, well, here we are, you know, we'll see how long we stay out here until finally someone either carts us away or just becomes part of the grass.
So Susan, can you talk about your technique? Because you are working from, is a mixture of photograph and drawing and
A mixture of photograph and memory
mm.
and and just kind of the journey that painting takes. You know, like that bicycle wasn't really pink when I saw it. Like sometimes I have to adjust things to like because I'm not just painting from photographs. It's not just like, okay, I want to copy it exactly. I mean, definitely when you paint, you should edit. You should make it become its own thing. Um, so yeah, and it's pretty direct painting. It's a little more alla prima than you know, traditional like thin layers. I mean, it's not that I just do it and then it's done. I spend a lot of time and I rework them many times. Um, like this sofa in particular, when I saw it, I thought, wow, that was a very expensive couch. Whoever bought that couch, it's like, I know where they probably got it from. They probably got it from Dania. It was probably like a several
So is it
thousand
like
dollar
is it a
couch.
recliner couch? Is
Um,
that what that is sticking out? A
it was
step?
leather and yeah, it probably did recline. I mean, it has that crazy like headrest on it. But okay, so again, someone discarded it right before the rainy season, but they don't even put it on its feet. They like they it looks like they must have taken the feet off and then they put it on its side. Who's going to take a couch that's on its side? Now you're really not, no one's going to take this. So then it's just going to sit here in front of this apartment complex. And it was there for a long time. That was there for, I think, a couple months. I kept passing it. But I'm like, okay, I guess I'll paint you, you poor discarded thing. I mean, this could have been someone's dorm or something like that, you know, but no one's going to take that.
So
This
you're
is another,
building up the paint, you have a like a texture there with
oh
your
yeah.
surfaces.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot about what is out, hold on, I'm trying to get that up so I can see what the name of it is. Where is it? I must have passed it. Um, no, I do think a lot about like what's smooth, what's rough, what like especially um you know, what does a sidewalk feel like? You know, it's got that kind of like grit to it that, you know, when you accidentally fall or something when you're a kid on your roller skates and you scrape up your knee real bad. Like I want people to feel that. When I also like here with this sidewalk, and this is kind of weird sidewalk. I did see a sidewalk a lot like this one. But I I changed like the position of some of the things from the original happening. Like I put things in different places, but I wanted to keep that strange angular sidewalk. But no, wanted that cone to feel smooth. I want that sidewalk to feel rough. I want that awful love seat to have that kind of like, I don't know, strange texture. Like, you know, like some furniture has a nice feel to it, and some of it it's like you go to like somebody's grandparents' house, but it's a little rough. It's like, don't stay too long. Don't you're not going to hang out in our living room too long, so we're going to get the furniture that doesn't feel nice because we don't want you to hang out. That's what it kind of feels like to me with that green love seat. I don't think a lot of love making is happening on that love seat. I mean, well, especially not with its like little cone friend, and that's called an unlikely pair. Um, but again, slice of life, a wig on a fire hydrant, like that just was begging to be like thought about. Like I want to know what happened that night. To me, I'm always curious, like who was wearing that wig and why did it end up on that fire hydrant? So some of these things I feel like have little stories, and I want them to be places of curiosity. I want them to be places where people can come up with their own scenarios. And then I found this one. This one's called Party Boy. And I just felt like it went really well with Little Queen. Again, like this cellophane balloon on another fire hydrant. And somebody asked me why this, like one of the people at the reception asked me why this painting looked like it was like in the forest or something like that. Like they didn't feel like it was in an urban setting. But if you're here, if you live in one of these neighborhoods in Oregon, we have evergreens everywhere. Everything's overgrown, especially right now. You have moss everywhere. You have like greenery coming out of your ears here. So we really do live in a forest. They just cut some of the trees down and put some houses up. But there's an evergreen right outside of my apartment. It's just it feels like the forest. We are in the forest here. So I'm glad that someone thought that this fire hydrant was in the wrong part. I was like, no, that's what it looks like here. This is exactly what Portland is like.
So it might make this stuff even more incongruous to have these objects out in a setting like that. I
Yeah.
mean, it's makes a certain amount of sense in a strictly urban environment, but when you have this greenery around.
Oh yeah, everything's lush here. It's just, like you don't have sidewalks without weeds growing out of it unless it was freshly paved. Like it's just green everywhere, all over the place. And it's beautiful. It's like we have electric green moss, like on the grass. Like I love looking at grass, and I mean, I love the beauty of this town. But then we have people making it not so beautiful by leaving all this funky furniture out and tagging signs and graffiti, and you know, so it's funny. This is another weird sidewalk. It looks a little like slidey, like you might like fall down on this sidewalk. Might be, yeah, it might be a little Alice in Wonderland, but I mean, our sidewalks are pretty screwy looking, so like that, it's a lot like that. But this and another, yeah, another funny chair, like a really ugly chair. I'm not a fan of recliners, I have to say. So I'm always like, who wants that darn recliner that your uncle probably smoked too many cigarettes and drank too much beer in? Nobody wants that. But it makes a good painting. Do you have more questions?
Well, the next wall is kind of a throwback because it's
Oh,
got your
pools.
pools on it.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about pools. Yeah.
So this was your
So
major focus previously.
yeah, it started because my friend did trapeze. It doesn't make any sense, but like he still does trapeze. But I painted him in this shape, and I made it, instead of this blue mat, I made it a pool, and then I started painting pools. This is a pool in New York. It's like in the Catskills. I went on a holiday trip. Um, and what I really loved about it is it was a former summer camp that we were staying in. It just looked like a motel, but I guess it was a former summer camp, so that's why they had this pool the way it was. But there was grass around the pool, and I'm not used to that. I'm used to like pavement all over the place when you have a pool. And when I stayed there, there was like this amazing family event happening. I mean, you can't see that here. It's, it looks like a sad, empty place. But this was also during COVID. So these pools became like sort of this point of, I don't know, I felt like a little bit of despair because I felt bad that like these things were empty for a long time, but this is a full pool. This had water in it and I got to actually go in. The pool next to it is a sad empty pool. It was like when we couldn't go anywhere, we weren't talking to anybody in person really. We were sort of running away from everybody. And this is a combination of a pool. Is it Fairmont Park
Yeah,
there in
Fairmount.
Philly? Fairmount
Fairmount.
Park. It's a combination of Fairmount Park pool and the pool I grew up going to in St. John's, Portland.
Hmm.
Um, so I wanted it to kind of have that kind of cold, desolate feel of that, there's nobody's having fun at this pool this summer. Nobody gets to go. Gosh, I sound like I just paint depressing things, but no, I don't feel that way. This swimming suit painting right here was the first thing I painted when I moved back to Portland. And it was tucked away for a really long time. I was having a hard time with it because once I moved back, um, I was struggling with the subject matter. I wasn't feeling the pools as much. It just was like I was going through a lot and it didn't have the same feeling. So this one, it's just kind of sort of floating, lonely bathing suit. It's kind of the last straw. I can't remember what this is called.
Last one out.
The last one out. Yeah,
So
last
this
one out.
was your transition piece
Yeah,
then?
yeah,
Those
and
stuff.
yeah, and I started it and then I shelved it for a long time and then I finally got back to it this year. And this one with the broken bathing suit and the kind of rigid bathing suit that was like the first painting I did when we went into lockdown for COVID. Because I didn't really know how to think about how to paint at that time. Because I know a lot of us artists struggled with like, how do we do it? So I was feeling like, oh, I have to keep things together because I have all this work I have to do, and I have to keep things together because there's a lot going on in my relationship, and how do I do this? But then also I was like, God, everything feels like it's falling apart. So that's why I have this kind of like, and I've been wanting to work with this like patterning on the bathing suit before, and then that one's painted like I worked on it, like one's overworked and one's just done. It's just like, um, anyway, that's kind of how I felt at the time.
And the show is up through June the 2nd. So we hope
Yes.
people come down to check it out. And it's also available on the website. And well, thanks so much, Susan. Thanks for being here tonight.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Mike.